right. Welcome, everyone. Glad you're here, and we're going to pull up the feeds online if we can stop laughing long enough to do it. So welcome to everybody, too, that's watching online. If you're joining us online, glad to have you. And so tonight's going to be pretty informal, but as we're in here, because we are live streaming it, if you ask a question, we do ask that you speak into the microphone, because if you don't, then they won't be able to hear you online. So we have to run it through a microphone for that to work for them. So, and how are we doing? You got it? You won't whisper. All right. You guys got it pulled up? Or do we have anybody viewing? Yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to start with a word of prayer. And again, thank you guys for coming out. And like I said, we'll talk about just how our church is going and what we're doing. And then we'll enjoy some dessert together. So you can't leave before we dessert. So... But, all right, well, let's pray. All right, Lord God, we come to you, Lord. We just praise you for who you are, Lord, for all you do, just for the opportunity we have to be together tonight, Lord, just to talk and, Lord, just discuss and dream about what you're going to do, what you're continuing to do, Lord, just in our church, through our church, in our community. Lord, we just thank you for the work that you are doing, and just pray that you would, Lord, just guide our discussion tonight. Lord, may you just continue to guide our church. And Lord, we just give you the glory. Lord, we are thankful, again, for the opportunity to serve you in all the different roles that we each serve in. And we just pray, God, for your blessing on tonight. Lord, we thank you for the dessert that we will enjoy later, Lord, in the hands that prepared it. And we're thankful for that. And Lord, may you just bless our time. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. So as we start off tonight, like I said, I wanted to kind of do this just because I know that definitely throughout the last several months, I think definitely since just the pandemic hit and even shutdown time and then kind of reopening back up and, you know, moving through all of that, as well as some staff changes, right, and openings and restructuring of staff things. And again, there's just been a lot of chaos. What it seems like there's been a lot of chaos, definitely throughout. I mean, we're all aware of the chaos just in our world in general. But I think in the midst of that, I just want to start out by saying is that I feel very pleased and confident with how the church is doing. And so if it feels like it's kind of chaotic, I think, and I understand that feeling. But it feels more chaotic than it actually is. I guess to say that is just as I look at just the day-to-day office and the interactions I hear from people and, you know, just all of that, like I feel like we are doing really well. And so I just really want to start out with that is just to say that I'm very, very pleased to see how our church has done during the last several months. And I remember, and some of the staff are here tonight, and so they can attest that when we were facing shutting down, like we were all kind of like we have no idea what is ahead of us, and like it was just completely uncharted waters. And I don't know if they could sense it in me, but I really even wasn't sure what to do. I was just kind of like, well, I have no idea, right? But we're gonna figure it out. Like we know we're just gonna figure it out, and so. But again, I just really, and I will say definitely with, in the shutdown during that time, again, is just, I felt like the staff, again, really stepped up in a lot of ways. And not just Melissa and Kim here tonight, but Jeremy and Dusty both as well, just stepped up in a lot of ways. And when we had to close the doors, right? And just kind of scrambled to get everything online and to do that. So again, I'm thankful for their help, thankful for that time, and again, just that I really felt like God really guided us through those weeks, because it really did feel very chaotic at that time. So I guess before we just kind of I want to jump in and just go over just our vision, our core values, and some of that stuff again. But before we do that, I'll just say, is there any, just a question that you was burning in your mind and your heart that you just had to ask, and you can't wait to ask it, to get it out of your mouth? Is there anybody with that? And so I'll open it now to say, if you have a question or something that you just can't wait to ask, now is your chance. Because you all listen to me talk all the time, so as you can tell, I can talk. But I know the first one's the scariest one, isn't it? Anyone? Crickets? Just like Bueller. All right, I'm not seeing any hands shooting up, so maybe nobody has questions. They're just burning in their mind. But so to say, so we are. I said this morning in service, and that we have hired an office person, a secretary treasurer, and so Juanita and I went through. We did interviews this last week. We interviewed several people, and worked through that. And again, we both felt just confirmation, and we felt like we had an obvious choice at the end of that. And honestly, that's really what I was hoping for and praying for, right? Is just that God would just raise up the right person, and that we would both agree, right, in that, and that we were there. And so that we both felt very comfortable in that at the end of those interviews. And so and she's here with us tonight. Amanda Hemmer is here. So everybody, raise your hand to Amanda. And so, welcome, Amanda. And I know everybody's online is like, where's Amanda? They can't see. So, why don't you, I didn't tell you were going to do this. You just stand here so they can see you. Because they can't see you unless you come up here. So, here's Amanda, everyone online. Are they? So welcome, Amanda, to our staff. So, and she's going to be starting on the 20th. Is when she'll be starting, and so again, she will be coming in on that Monday. Is that the right date? Is that the right date? Yeah. So she'll be coming in, and for those last couple weeks of July, she'll be learning, and she has a lot to learn when it comes to office. And so Melissa is going to still be in the office through the end of July, and just helping and training Amanda and handing things off to her. So. And again, Melissa has stepped up huge again throughout, especially this, because the office job has changed a lot, even in the last several months through the shutdown times and things. So again, and so thank you, Melissa, for stepping up into that, because she's put in a lot of extra time in that too. So definitely, again, and Melissa has served. She's been serving in a dual role for the last how long have you been in the office job? So a year, yes. So Melissa, we had originally hired Melissa as our children's director. She was on, and then, and it wasn't just a few months after that, really, that we then changed some of the structure things, and Melissa stepped into a dual role of doing the children's director and office stuff. And really with this office change and with the treasurer change, I know that's kind of been one of the biggest questions I've heard from a lot of people of like, why are we making this change, and where did it come from, and kind of all of those things. And so again, for those that know me well, and I explained it in some of the journey classes and stuff, but by the time I kind of move out with something, I've been praying about it, and it's been in my journal for a long time. Just about moves that I need to make, and just to hear God's voice. And so just looking at the structure of our staff and at the workflow and all of those things, but one of the things that God had really convicted me about as I was praying and seeking the Lord on where's the direction of our church, where do we need to go, what's going to take us to where we need to be to fulfill what you need us to do in this community. And one of the things that I felt God was prompting me towards was that I needed to move people away from dual roles. And that was just, I saw that. I mean, Melissa was in a dual role. Juanita was in a dual role. There was several people throughout the history of our church that have been in majorly dual roles with big responsibilities. And again, I just felt, and just that God was showing me is like that those dual roles have gotten us to where we are today. And so those were were good moves, and those people have been faithful, and they've served in those roles, and they put in a ton of time, and they have. But again, and it's gotten us to where we are today. But to go somewhere new, we need to make some changes, right? And because what's gotten us to this point today is not going to take us to where God needs our church to go. And so that was one of the big convictions that I felt from God. And so again, in this, and Juanita and I have been talking. I know people have asked her about it, and people have asked me about it, and they're like, "Why is Juanita okay? Is she, does she not want to do the job anymore?" Like that's not the issue at all. Juanita is okay. I think Juanita, you can speak for yourself, but Juanita is okay. But Juanita has been serving in a dual role. She is on our board of trustees, as well as been our treasurer. So you've been the treasurer for 6 years. This is your 7th year as treasurer. So Juanita was on as treasurer before I came to Oregon Trail, and she's done a phenomenal job. She's just done a great job in that. And so, but again, we've been talking about this move and a year. In fact, I think even when we moved Melissa into that office role, that was even in the discussion, even at that point, about that. And so again, we just hadn't just watching and seeing and just waiting on God's timing, and just kind of when was going to be the right time to make those changes. So with this move, with hiring Amanda and switching that, again, in that goal is to get Melissa to do just kids, okay, to have Juanita be just a board member and to fill that role, and all of the, she still fills a lot of volunteer roles too. But one of the main discussion with the treasurer role, moving that to a staff position, is because the workload of that position has gone up exponentially in the recent years. It's changed dramatically in the 7 years you've done it, and so again, just the workflow of that and the workload of that as the church has grown, we've added staff, we've added a lot of people. The budget has grown tremendously even since I've been here, and so with that is, again, it's just with all of those changes comes more work for Juanita, and so that's again where we're kind of moving, and that's why we're moving into that structure. One of the other big structure changes that I felt led to make within our staff is that I've kind of made I have made three categories of staff. We have pastoral roles, which right now is just me, right? I'm the only one in a pastoral role. Then we have ministry roles, and so I'm full-time as a pastor. I'm full-time and salaried. And then in the ministry roles are all salaried positions, but they are leading ministries. And so right now we have Melissa and Kim are both in ministry roles. Melissa in children's ministry director, right? Kim is in worship director. And when we hire our next youth director, that will be a ministry role as well. And so that again is a salaried position. They're responsible for an entire area of ministry. Okay, and then we're going to have support roles. Okay, and so as we look at that, those support jobs, okay, are going to be hourly positions, right, that are going to happen, and their work will happen on site. Okay, for ministry and pastoral roles, right, as salaried, and all of us work a whole lot more than we are on the premises, right? Again, we all work at home. We all work on we never really clock out. Okay, and so, we have days off and we have times that we don't answer emails or don't answer our phone calls. But again, we never really clock out, right? But those support roles jobs will do. And I think that will set us up for the future as well. Because we have a lot of things that are done around here by volunteers, and we always will. Right? And that's just part of what runs a church, and we're going to always need those volunteers strategically. But as the church continues to grow and as our reach continues to go out and as God expands his kingdom through our efforts, that we all hope that will happen, that if we do that, we're going to have to continue to move more and more roles, onto staff positions. And so, again, and I know Ben and I have talked about it a little bit, and I know one of those things is going to be a facilities maintenance person, okay, that is going to be a staff position, a support staff position at some point. Again, Ben puts in countless hours here, doing that, and we appreciate Ben very much for all that he does around our facility. But But again, I think at some point, that position's going to have to be made, unless a volunteer takes it over, and they could. But, whenever Ben decides he doesn't want to do it anymore. So, but that's definitely going to be one of those things, too, that's going to happen in the future. So, but does that make sense to everyone? Looking at support roles, ministry roles, and pastoral roles. So, does anybody have any questions now? Yes, Vera. Yeah, thank you.
This is not a question, it's a statement. I don't know if it was recognized, but last week was your 5th anniversary here.
It was. Yes, it was. So, thank you. Yeah, July 1st seems to be a pretty significant date for staff, apparently, but July 1st was my start date here at Oregon Trail 5 years ago. So I'm working on your 6 now. So, yep. So, yes. Any other questions or statements? Yes. Amanda, yes. Where does Amanda come from? So Amanda, she applied for the job. Her and her husband Gavin and their family have been involved off and on in our church for the last 2 years. So yeah, they moved to Middleton 2 years ago, and I knew Gavin and Amanda from Boise in Cloverdale, and so in fact I got to know Gavin pretty well just right before we left Cloverdale. He started coming. He was invited to go to church by a coworker. And then he started coming to Cloverdale, and then and actually I baptized Gavin. I think he was one of the last people that I baptized before I left Cloverdale to come to Oregon Trail. And so they were living in Boise then. So, and then a couple years ago, I just kind of got this random call or text from Gavin. He was like, "Hey, we're moving out your way. We're gonna start coming to church." And so so they've been off and on involved for the last couple of years. So. So that's where Amanda heard about the job because they were watching online and heard about it, and so she applied. So that's where Amanda comes from. Yeah, and she is an EMT, and she's serving in Payette, and still finishing some residency stuff with that, right? Experience things, and so she hopes to go back to paramedic school as well to go through, get more certifications. So she's going to work here during the week and out there on the weekend. So, yes.
You mentioned online. Can you give us a little description of how our online viewing is faring over the course?
Yes. Yeah, so questions about our online viewing and how well that's going. So we've been posting sermons online for several years, but they were just being recorded on Sunday, and then we would edit them and then post them onto YouTube. And we were getting when we first started doing it, there'd be 3 or 4 plays on a sermon. Just the more consistent we did it, we got kind of more plays in that. But so before the shutdown, we were already doing that, so we already had cameras in place and kind of all of that stuff. So when we shut down, we kind of tried to scramble to try to see how we could live stream it, and it wasn't a large jump for us. There were a lot of other churches I know that had a lot bigger scramble when they were closed to try and get online. So we were closed down for 6 weeks. So during that 6 weeks, we were just pre-recording all of the services and then posting, uploading them ahead of time and then setting them to premiere on Sunday mornings. And so that's and if you were watching online during the shutdown, that's why, even my family, we hooked it up to our TV and we all watched church together, at home. And so, but that's how all of us were interacting with you through chat during the shutdown time, because we weren't actually doing it live, right? It was all pre-recorded. We were all home with our families. So during the shutdown, we saw, our online numbers, views on the premiere videos, and then it went up to the level what we were experiencing, in person. So, I mean, we were having anywhere from 150 to 200 views a week on the sermons, or on the whole services, right? And even in the midst of that, and if you remember, that was even through Holy Week and Good Friday and Easter, and kind of all of that was all online 100%. And during that time when we hit that, thank you, when we started to do that, and I remember again, we came together as a staff and we're like, hey, we got to figure out what to do, and how are we going to limit exposure for everybody, and because we were thinking about even our sound team and our music team and kind of everything of how do we navigate that. And so, in fact, Kim and I remember we kind of had a meeting where we're like, well, we could make it happen with just our two families. And so that was what we decided to do for those first couple weeks, and even before, when we didn't even know how crazy it was going to be and how much we wanted to expose people or whatever. And so, we just decided that her and I and our kids, and our families were just going to do it. And so even, again, if you could go back and watch Good Friday, and literally it was me and Kim and Curtis that were on the stage, and Farron was running it, right, and running the sound, and and Lauren was doing the computer, and we just had, it was literally just us and our kids and our families that just made it happen for those first couple weeks. And then we talked with our teams and the band and everybody, and just said, when you're comfortable to come back, then you can start coming back. And they kind of started to, and some said they weren't ready, and kind of those different things. And so we started to pull people back in then as we came through that. But knowing that eventually we were going to come back to live services, we were like, but we didn't, trying to figure that out. And so then those last couple weeks was when we had started. I did a bunch of research and kind of scrambled and called up the board and said, I need to spend some money, and he kind of did this and bought some extra equipment to be able to truly live stream it, so that when we open the doors again, we could just do the service and then push it line, which now, of course, we have that equipment and some new people that are stepping in to do that. So online numbers it felt like, the views, it seemed like we were having a good reach, but again, I know we were reaching people even during the shutdown time that were not even local. I know I had family members that, my family members, extended family, were scattered all over the country, and I had several that were watching our services. Several of our friends, even in Boise and just kind of around the area, were like, "Yeah, we saw you, and we watched your service today." And I remember one Sunday we were shut down. I got to go and watch. I watched some of my other friends preach, and I think one Sunday I went to 6 different services. Just watching different ones. So, which is really fun. But part of that is we saw, and I was hearing from people, and just the reach of our online presence. Because I think seeing those views, knowing, even in our house, right, there were 6 of us that were watching it, and that was, 1 viewer. And so, seeing that, realizing that there was, that we were reaching further than we even were live, right, and even reach people not in our area. And so, now granted, I know every church was doing that at that point, and so there were people that were watching our service and other services, and and kind of all over. And like I said, I really enjoyed some of those Sundays, being able to hear a bunch of different sermons from some of my friends and things. So, which was really great. But so then when we opened and started live streaming it, so obviously we've had people coming back. We saw it kind of ramp up a little bit each week that we were open, leading up until the last couple weeks before the 4th, the week before the 4th and the 4th of July, both kind of dropped off our live attendance. But even that, and I was expecting our online viewing to drop off when we did that, and it did a little bit, but not a lot. And so, which was really cool. So to see that reach, we've seen the online numbers continue to stay really strong, even since we've been open. And so they really haven't gone down a lot. So I see, and we've had good interaction with people. We've heard some through email and a few things, not a ton though, from people contacting the office. So as much as we can tell, and obviously we can see the metrics from YouTube and from Facebook, and it shows us how many people are see it, how many people watch it. We can go on and see how long they watch it and when they turn it off. And so I don't know if you realize that your phone is tracking you that much, but it is. So again, one of the metrics on Facebook is how many minutes or hours has been watched of your video. And so that's not just views, but also of like how long people watch it and where they jump off or whatever. And we've still continued to see, we have pretty strong numbers of people that watch the entire video, which is really unheard of usually on, online videos. I don't know, most of the time if you watch YouTube, you kind of watch the first minute of it and then you stop it and go to the next one, right? So to answer your question, I feel like we've had a really good reach online, and I think we have reached a lot more people online. I think at least the potential's there. I have seen we've continued to still post just the sermons on the sermon videos on YouTube and the podcast, which is just audio, and actually the views on the podcast especially have gone up, continue to go up from even since we started streaming. Even the podcast listens have gone up, and we're just podcasting the sermon, just like we've always have. So we're not podcasting the entire service. And we can't post it later because of copyright issues with the music. And so we have a license now to stream the music, to have our band stream it live. And so we can do that as long as it's a live feed, but we can't post it afterwards. So if that, just because of the copyright rules. So, and that's why we weren't posting the music before we were live streaming, because our licensing for the music for that didn't allow us to do that. So they do give you extra leeway if you're live streaming something. So again, one of the reasons that we continue to live stream it as well, so we can do the music. So I'll say I looked at the podcast the other day, and I think Lifetime plays on the podcast, and I started. If you remember, the first series that was put into podcast was the Hebel series, okay, that was a couple years ago. And the series on Ecclesiastes was the very first one that was ever podcasted. And so we've been doing that. But we have, I think, almost 8,000 lifetime plays on the podcast. And each sermon has been played, the top played ones. I think the top played, which it's weird, it's Gideon Week 3 is the number one played podcast out of the whole thing. And I don't understand necessarily why. But it's at 200 plays. And interesting going on, of course, every week, it usually shows you the metrics every week. When I log on to upload the next week, so I usually see it. But there are people, of course, the one from the week before is always the number one played podcast of that week. But people still continue to go back and listen to archived ones over and over, and from countries all over the world have listened to it, which is pretty astronomical. There's somebody in London that really likes our podcast, because there's a lot of plays from London, which is interesting. But yeah, so does that answer your question, Lee? Yeah. Yes, Jordan. So that's a great question. The question was, what are some options for people to serve? How can we continue to move our church forward, right? And what other areas can we do? That's a great time, Jordan. I'm gonna pause to answer that question for a moment, because I want to go back to what we prepared here, and I think to look at that I just wanted to show you and just remind everybody. Again, if you've been through Journey classes, you've seen these. They're on the front of the bulletin every week. This fall, we're going to go through, as a church, we're doing a sermon series on our core values and our vision. But before I answer your question, Jordan, I'm going to say I want to go to and look at, first off, with our 4 core values. And I wanted to show you these tonight, because in the midst of when everything is in chaos, when everything seems like it's changing, even if we're changing staff or we're changing structures or we're changing all kinds of program things, whatever it would be, we are committed as a church. I'm committed as a pastor, as a leader, that these 4 things will never change. Okay, and that's why they're core values, right? They're the core of who we are. Okay, and so when you look at core value number 1, that Jesus Christ is the destination of our journey. That it's about Jesus, right? It's about us following him, learning about him, right? He's our example to follow. He shows us what holiness is. Right? And as we journey forward in our faith, right, that he is our destination. okay, and that he's the center of everything that we do. And so again, it's even right now as we go through, that's again, as I work on my teaching plan, I'm committed to do a gospel a year, okay, because Jesus is the center, okay, and the story of Jesus' life is that important, okay, and so that's, again, we're, as Christians, that's how we define it, right? We are followers of Jesus, okay, and so so he's number one, okay. Core value number two is that Scripture is our foundation and roadmap of our journey. Again, we value Scripture. We believe that it's true, right? That it's God-inspired, and that we can trust it. Even when everything else feels chaotic, we can trust Scripture. And it is our foundation, right? We build upon it and the roadmap for our journey. And so we want to, again, be a church that takes the Bible seriously, right? We uphold the Bible. We know that, again, God decided the rules, right? And he wrote them down in the Bible, and it's not up to us to decide if we're going to change them or not. Okay, and so, again, we want to be a church that actually reads the Bible and actually studies it, okay? And that's, again, one of my core values as a pastor is just saying that I'm here to not preach my opinion, but I'm here to preach what God's opinion and what he wrote down in Scripture. And so, again, Scripture is our foundation, okay? And it's the roadmap. It tells us what to do, right? It gives us those commands. We can talk about that today, right? We have the commands of Jesus, and we're going to follow them, right? That's where the commands are written down. Core value number three, all generations contribute to the journey. Again, all generations, meaning that all generations are important. Okay, all generations are here. We want them to be valued in our church. All generations are valued. Our kids, our youth, our adults, our seniors, all generations, okay, are here together, and they're all valued. And then not only do we have all generations, but they all contribute, meaning that we are moving from just consuming to contributing. And that's going to be an ongoing cycle in our lives of consuming the things of God and then to contribute into his kingdom. And that's where we're getting to answer your question, Jordan. And then core value number four is that everyone's welcome on the journey. And again, we've seen that even as we go through John, we've seen that over and over and over again. Who does Jesus want to save? Everyone, right? And again, God loves, again, he values life, right? And just the sanctity of human life, and that, every life matters. And so everyone's welcome to join the journey here. So those are our core values and stuff. So then that's, again, the foundation of what we're doing. And then we have the spiritual journey. Again, our vision, right, is join the journey. And we've kind of laid out these 5 typical steps of a growing journey. Okay? We started off with attending church. Okay? Then moving from, again, that's Sunday morning, right? We're just here. We're all learning about God together. Okay? All generations, right? We're working through that. And so we start with attending. Then we move from attending just on a Sunday morning to small groups and classes, right? To next level deeper teaching and next level relationships, right? You get to know those people better. And that's, again, even our age-specific programming from youth ministry, kids ministry, joy group, adult small groups, kind of all of those things, different classes that you get to know each other. So we dive deeper into deeper level teaching and deeper level relationships. And then the next one is to serve in a ministry, and that kind of leads, again, into Jordan's question, right? And again, this is just show up, right? And even just whether it's simple roles, right, or higher level responsibilities, but just, again, God created us to serve. He's given us all spiritual gifts, He's giving us all talents, and they're all supposed to contribute to the body. Okay? And then we move from serving, we take on more responsibility as God leads us to lead a ministry. And we see this is when we move from serving to leading, we're just taking on more responsibilities. Okay? And again, in a ministry doesn't mean just in our church, but also in our community and in your life. And again, as God is transforming your mind, right, transforming the way you think, as Romans 12:2 says, right, then we start to see and realize that everything is the potential of being a ministry, right? If it's to glorify Christ, right, then it can be a ministry. So not just in the walls of our church and on the church property, but when we go to work, we're in ministry. When we're at home, with our families, we're in ministry. When we're with our neighbors in our community, when we're coaching our kids in sports, right, or even when we're playing rec league softball, right, whatever it is, like it can all be a ministry. Okay? And next then is to be a spiritual companion, right, of where I'm going to be a disciple that is making other disciples and contributing to other people's journey and walking along with them in close relationship and even one-on-one discipleship type relationships. So the journey classes we have that are there to kind of be the bridge between the steps. Okay, so once you call Oregon Trail your home church, then I encourage you to take Journey Class 1, and it's where we go through this a lot more in depth and look at our statement of faith and kind of all of those things and what we're doing. Journey Class 2 is based on the book I'm a Church Member, and it's saying how do I dive deeper and what are those. That book describes 6 commitments that we'll make right as a church member and those things that we're going to work through, and even how we see church and why we come to church. We hope that that's at the point where you go from just having to come to church to wanting to come to church, right, and looking forward to coming to church. Next, and then Journey Class 3 is on spiritual gifts, and we look at a personality profile and spiritual gifts profile, and which then again shows you where God made you to serve, right, and places that you could step up. Hey, for those of you that went through Journey Class 3 early on, I mean, all of these are kind of a work in progress, and they're continuing to meld as we go through and learn new stuff, and as the church continues to grow. But we've added a third session of that Class 3. So if you took it earlier, we only did 2 sessions. And the third session is we have all of our ministry team leads. So whether it's the staff or even volunteer leads, come to the third session of that class to answer your question, Jordan, of where can we jump in? What are the opportunities? And they get to meet all of those team leads kind of and see their face and hear from them where they can serve. I promise you I'm going to answer your question, Jordan. I'm going to get there. Okay, then Class 4, when we're looking and moving on to taking on higher level responsibility. Journey Class 4 is about spiritual disciplines, and we look through about how does your faith become personal, right? And how do you get to that point where you have an intimate relationship with Christ? And we look at 4 different spiritual disciplines in that class, and I give you one. We look at biblically why it's there, give you some tasks and some homework, and then you go for 2 weeks and you do it. Okay, and then come back and then we look at the next one. Okay, and so, but Journey Class 4 is where you take your relationship with Christ beyond just knowledge, right, and just attending church, but to really where it becomes a daily walk with Christ, and that's really the goal of 4. And then Class 5 is about spiritual leadership, and how many people have taken Class 5? Yeah, no, we haven't ever taught Class 5, so it was kind of a trick question, but because again, and actually Nicole and I have been we've been talking about it several times. We haven't met now in the middle of the chaos of these last several months, but we're coming up with ideas again of how do we continue to spur people on in their leadership, and how do they take on companions, and what do those relationships look like, and how do we continue to train those people to go through that. Now we have people that have companions that are working with them, and some of them have been really successful, and some of them haven't been. But again, that's a work in progress, and we're working through that. One of the things that we've discussed about Class 5 is that it needs to be an ongoing process of learning spiritual leadership, it's not like a one and done type of thing like the other classes are. And even the other ones really aren't supposed to be one and done. But as we were working on that, again, in fact, we just heard from our Southern Idaho State Churches of God that we're having a spiritual leadership guy coming in next winter. Cloverdale's bringing him in, but they've invited all of us to come for come for like a weekend conference with this guy. And so that's again going to be kind of a Class 5 level type of situation that we're going to invite people to. But then we're getting that to, we start out, right? We all start out consuming. Okay? And that's where, and that's okay. That's where we start out. And that's why we want to invite people to come with us and just to hear about Jesus, right? And be exposed to who he is. But as we continue to grow, we're moving towards contributing. Okay? And we see, again, all generations contribute. And so, again, we're moving as we grow around the circle. And we're moving in that process. But we can't get to contribute. That's not where the journey ends. We can't just stop. We can't just serve, right, in a place we need to and then just stop there. Okay? Is that this needs to be an ongoing cycle within our lives, right, and within our faith, to where we are consuming and contributing. Okay? And truthfully, for those of you that serve, and think you've known that, I've experienced it in my life, right? The more that you contribute, the more that you get out of that, the more that you learn, the more that you grow. Okay? And so the more you contribute, the more that you end up consuming, because God shows you new things. Okay? And ideally, we want to see this process continue in all of our lives as we become disciples who are helping make disciples. And as we keep replicating other those, and ideally, if once you get to that, you take on a companion that you will then go back through the classes with your companion, and you're going to find that person who's just starting to attend church, okay, and to go with them. So where can we serve? And Jordan, we are finally to your question. I know this was a 10-minute answer to a very simple question. Okay, but to say that is, where can we serve? We have lots of places you can serve inside of our church, and we're working, and that's one of the things that, again, I want to see for us move forward is for us as a church to contribute to more things and other ministries in our community as well. And so, again, we can always use more people in the kids ministry, okay? That's always a place where people, and we have a great team that's in there, and people that have worked in there are just wonderful. But again, there's as we get more families, more kids, we need more teachers, we need more helpers. Okay, we always need more people there. We could always use more youth leaders as well. Again, the youth ministry has grown a lot in the last several years. Again, Dusty did a great job with that group and growing it to where it is now. And she took 25 kids to camp this summer. And so that's the biggest camp we've ever had from Oregon Trail. And like that, again, that's great. She had, was there 10 kids that were signed up to go on the mission trip this year out of the youth ministry? I think it was 10 or 11. And the mission trip got canceled. And again, that was done by the missions organization canceled it. That wasn't our decision. But because of the COVID stuff. And so, again, we've got kids that are hungry within that youth ministry. And again, they need whoever takes the baton, from Dusty is going to be challenged with taking that to the next level. Okay, but they're going to need more help too, right, with the vision of where we want to see that go. That we need, again, a new area is as we've gone online into live feed, is that we now, because we already always can use more people playing instruments and singers. And again, Kim's done a great job of like building up that team, but not just the ones on stage, but it takes a team of people in the booth and behind the scenes to make all of that happen as well. And we can always use, again, Jason and Farron have carried the load on the soundboard for years, just between the two of them, right? And they've done a great job, right? But they've been on every other week, and it's just between the two of them. We could use a few more people to learn the soundboard. Again, on the computer, running the words for the computer and all of that, like, again, we've had people cycle through that, and now we've got, still we could use some more help there. But in that, now going online, the live feed, we've added a third person, right, that we need in that booth in order to run that. And again, the entire live stream is being run from an iPad, and it's pretty easy to do, but you kind of have to learn it. There's a little bit of learning curve, but and we have a couple people interested that are working on that. And but definitely, we also, just like today, I was pushing like our journey stories into that. Like we're going to need to continue to expand our video team. And we have some really great ideas of things we want to do with video, to other online content we can create and kind of those kinds of things, but we need some more people in that. And right now, our video team, literally Jordan is going to be leading that team, that live stream video team. And he's going to be the primary guy kind of working with the journey videos as well. We have Nancy that's on our video team. She works behind the scenes. She does all of our editing. She comes in during the week and edits those sermon videos and to get them ready to post. And so, again, she's been doing that for, how long have you been doing that, Nancy? 4 years? Yeah, so, yeah, she's been, again, she's just faithful, comes in every week and does that. So, yeah, we have those, again, greeting team. In fact, welcome, Carly is our brand new greeting team lead. So yes, welcome, Carly. So, again, she can always use more people out front, right? And with her strategy with the greeting team, right? Again, if we ever go back to passing plates again, we will need, we always people on the usher team, right? And communion. Again, again, Maxine has come in and some of the Lilienthal girls has helped her fill communion cups, right? I mean, once a month. Again, we have a team that does that, and that's a job that nobody ever sees, right? But yet, it's so important. Again, and Maxine has faithfully served in that job for years. So there's, and again, she's had help from time to time. Now, obviously, right now, when we're using the disposable ones, like but still, every month, she contacts me every month. Do I need to come in? What are we going to do? I'm like, oh, you get another month off. But, so, again, we have so many volunteers that are serving in so many ways. Again, Ben could help people driving a mower, right? Or coming around doing different things, right? He spends countless hours here. There's lots of places you can serve, okay? And from different levels of ability, as well as we one of our things as we do this, we need to continue to expand and have more small group options, right? It's literally the second step of our journey, and we need more of those. Again, we've got Edie and Jason and some real good, really very, very faithful small group leaders, but we need to continue to expand those groups so they stay small, right? Again, it's hard to do a small group with 20 people in it. And so again, we need to have those groups continue to replicate and split off, right? So that again, they can be in deeper relationships, and everybody gets a chance to contribute in those discussions. So there's lots of different teaching roles. Like I said, I've been working with a couple people too, and working to teach different journey classes, so that I'm not teaching all of them. We can offer them more often, right, to where it's not dependent on my schedule. So again, Ben's been teaching one, and Jeremy taught one, and working with that some too. So lots of places to serve. Probably biggest needs right now is probably sound booth. I think probably because, again, everybody that's been on that team especially, but a lot of our teams are kind of running at bare minimums. Like if everybody's here, nobody goes on vacation, nobody gets sick, nobody has anything happen, like we're covered, but we're like barely covered, right? To where, if that we have to scramble if somebody can't make it. So again, and all of those people are been carrying a big load. And so, to where ideally, we'd like to have enough people we could rotate people through where they don't have to be in it, even every other week, right? So especially there's some that are serving every week, right, in some roles. So then also one of the things we've kind of expanded another place to serve, and you guys seen it, but we've been doing the Middleton Food Pantry. We've been working with them. And again, they were really starving for help. And they're just like here in a lot of church ministries, we found out that there's a couple people at the pantry that just work countless hours. And so, like I said, so Judy is our recently new Middleton Pantry team lead. So if you're really interested in working at the Middleton Food Pantry, again, Judy's taken that. And so, so it's been awesome to see that just start off. And it's gone really well, I think, as we started off, and several people have served there. And I think they've kind of been overwhelmed with the help, in a good way, been overwhelmed with the support that we've given them so far. And so, again, we want to continue to do that for them. Again, one of the things that Melissa and I have talked about in connecting with our kids ministry, and get a kind of bigger philosophy with that, is we want to be truly minister to families and even in our community. And one of the things that we've heard of other churches doing that we want to kind of work on too is where churches have kind of adopted a school in their community, and to provide just kind of volunteers and to work with that school to do that. And Grace Bible in Middleton has done that with Mill Creek, and they've really provided volunteers and everything for different events there with that elementary school. And so we've really seen, we have a couple different connections to Purple Sage, which is out in our area right here. And so we'd love to be able to expand that to where we can kind of adapt Purple Sage and kind of help them. I know Lee has served there, to just going and listening to kids read in the hallway, right, and some different things. And I know we have a couple people from our church and our congregation that have worked there professionally as well as served there. So we have a couple different connections to Purple Sage, and so we're hoping to kind of expand those this next year if we have a school year. I mean, that's kind of, up in the air too. But so again, that's one of the things that I really feel as we continue to move to the next phase of Oregon Trail is where can we, connect in our community. We have some really strong ministries happening within our church and our building. Again, we do some of our outreach events and things like trunk or treat and like mini bikes and those kind of things really bring the community in a lot, and we want to continue to do those things, but we want to look at how can we go out into our community too, and again, to expand God's reputation in this community through our church, of how can we reach out in new ways and more ways. So the question is, as we continue into the fall, are we going to start up journey classes and bring those back together? Yes, absolutely. And if depending on how we go, we have no idea, right? When COVID's going to be over, right? I mean, that's kind of what we all kind of wish would happen, but we realize that that's probably not going to happen, right? I mean, at least in the foreseeable future. It's not going away. We can obviously tell we can't hide in our houses forever and expect it to just disappear. So, but as you do that, yeah, so we have, and we were offering them, I was committed to do Journey Class 1 once a month, and so we had that, and then obviously when people took one, then they would move on through the other ones. We shut down midstream in a Journey Class 2, and so we did Journey Class 2.1 was done in person, I think like the week or two before. I know you guys were in it, right? It was like right before we shut down, right? Like you guys just started it, and then we closed the doors. And so we did the second session of Class 2 online. We did that, and once we figured out that we weren't going to be able to open and do it, we did that one on Zoom. And then Ben, you just finished it, right? Like 2 weeks ago or last week, somewhere in there. I think, yeah, when we finally got those people through, it took them, that's like the longest Journey 2 class of history, right? Like it took so long to get through it, but we got through that one and kind of stumbled. So now, like I said, we don't have any, we have a lot of people that are somewhere along the journey, right? But yeah, so as soon as, now we haven't done any in July, and just because July's been crazy and people are gone and I'm gone and everything throughout July. But yes, the plan is we'll start them back up. We'll offer Journey Class 1 in August again. And like I said, we'll gauge how that is. If we have to do it online, we'll do it online. I don't know, so much of the Journey classes, though, is relational. And it just, and many of you guys have participated in online things. We've done small groups online. We did Journey Class 2 online for those that were already in it. And it works, but it's not the same. And so it's just, it's hard to do them. And I think like I said, and that was one of the things even with Class 2 that kind of everybody in the class agreed. They're like, oh, we want to hold off, and we'll try to finish it in person. And so, again, we kind of struggled to do that, but we finally got it done. So yes, definitely the Journey classes are not going away. It's going to be something that we're going to continue on. If you were somebody that went through the classes early on, like I said, they've been a work in progress, and they've changed over the years as we've been doing them since the first few times that I taught them. So ideally, you'd be going through them with somebody who has, if you've already finished the classes, okay, this is my encouragement to you. You've already gone through them. Is to find somebody, that hasn't gone through them at all and go through them with them again. Because I think you'll have a new experience with the classes. Even a lot of the content is the same as far as you'll take the same test, the same uniquely you test, it's the same book. But you'll have a different experience. Every class that I've taught, every class that other people have taught is a different experience every time. And so you see the different interactions with people and the discussions. And so I'll tell you, I've taught Class 4, I don't even know how many times I've done it, but literally it has been different every time I've taught it. Like there's never been one Class 4 that's been the same as another one. And that's my favorite one. I love Class 4. I look forward to teaching Class 4 again soon, I hope. Right? But do we have any online questions? Do we have any online viewers? That's good. Yeah, so 5 on each. Nice. Hello, online viewers. I'm glad you joined us. Do you guys have any questions, online viewers? All right. Any other questions from people here? This was pretty easy. So you just sit here and listen to me talk again. You heard me talk this morning. You're like, we know. Anybody want to know about our youth ministry director prospect? So yeah, we have 3 applicants that have already turned in applications for our youth ministry director position, and all 3 of them could definitely do the job. I don't have a question of that. So, but all 3 of them are different. And so, I'm planning to do interviews this next week. I talked to another person this morning that was interested in it, so we might even potentially have 4 people that apply. But definitely, so God's at work there. I think that we're, so again, we have definitely some good applicants, and, ones that I think whoever ends up getting the position, I'm excited about what they're going to be able to do. So, yeah, I know that maybe that wasn't as exciting as I built it up to be. I was excited that we have 3 applicants because I was thinking as, I was blindsided. I think we were all kind of blindsided with Dustin's departure. And so, again, just one of those moments of like, Lord, I trust you, right? But I'm not sure what you're doing. But God's in control. So, absolutely. Any other questions? No? Well, then I'll wrap it up this way. Okay, yes, we have a question. Jade. Oh, Casey came and did it? Very good. Yeah. Good. That is awesome. Yes. Yes, Jason.
Did you want to?
Yeah, you're on.
Want to touch on any long-term goals at all?
Yes, I would. Thank you for your question, Jason. So as we look at, again, what God is done here, right, and again, I think as we even look at this last year and a half, I mean, in this time, we've been through this season as a church where we've really focused a lot on the building and focused on, our grounds here. And again, we've put literally hundreds of thousands of dollars into the building in the last couple years. And just to the point, again, to where we're at the point now where I feel like, again, that's been an important season. It was a needed season. And one, again, that we've gone through. We still have, it's going to be an ongoing process, right? A building we always have to maintain. But again, we've gotten some major things out of the way that were just kind of an anchor to the church in a lot of ways. And just with the facility-wise and HVAC systems and the well and just all kinds of really important things. So then this last season, again, to get through that and where I feel like that God's been faithful. He provided the money. We've gotten to that end. Again, we still have some more things that need to continue to happen with the building, and that's always going to happen. But I really feel like that we're moving into this a new phase for our church, and I think this whole shutdown and COVID thing has been a huge evaluation time and kind of a transition time for everything, right? And I think in the midst of that, like I said, it's forced our hand into some things like moving to online and to streaming. But again, those are things that we've seen that God has used in ways that we didn't expect, and so which is amazing. But moving forward, like I said, this next season is I really feel like that we need to move into a season of outreach and a season of growth and reaching into our community. And I think that again, to move that's where, and through these next months of sermons, like that's just where I'm planning on moving, and we're just going to focus on just literally expanding God's kingdom and people finding Jesus. And we've seen that in the middle of this shutdown especially, is there's just people are hungry, people are searching, people need God more now than ever before. And again, we've this whole time has made where the middle, the gray area is gone in a lot of things. And I think those that we've seen that have come back after the shutdown, and the truth is there's some that we haven't seen, right, since we've been open, and we haven't heard from that are being online. And again, we've tried to follow people and things, and we just don't know where some are. At the same time, through the shutdown, we've seen other people really step up their faith. Is that we've seen people, step up in so many areas in their commitment and being committed online. And again, our giving has gone up during the shutdown. There's been, again, even as we open back up, and like I said, there's just kind of new excitement about serving, and people are taking it very seriously, which is amazing. So I feel like those that we have in here and connected with our church right now we're ready to work. We're ready to go to battle. We're ready to reach out. And now we have a very clearly defined target, right, in our community, those that don't know Jesus. And so that's I want to really focus on that outreach and that growth of the church. Again, not because I want to see the church, becoming the next mega church. In fact, that's not my long-term vision. But we need to reach out and reach more people because they need Jesus. And again, we need the attendance to go up, right? So because that means that people are finding Jesus. If we are being faithful to the vision and the journey that he's called us to, right? I hope this next year that we baptize hundreds of people. Right? I hope that we see hundreds of people come to know Christ for the first time. right? That we see our kids ministry and our youth ministry and our seniors ministry and our adult small groups just explode. And because all of those numbers mean that people are coming to Jesus and people are taking their faith more seriously. And so as we do that, again, the long-term vision is that, and people have asked, like, are we going to add on? How are we going to, I don't want to build this facility any bigger. Okay? And again, I've seen this, all of the years and sacrifice and dedication of so many people, and long before we were ever here, to build this building and to pay it off and to keep it updated and kind of all of those things. And with that is, I think God has placed us here for a very specific reason. And again, he's used the leadership ahead of me, right, to get us to this point. And we have an amazing location, and we have a wonderful facility, and we have all of these things. And so, but yet this would be kind of our home base. But what my long-term vision is, I hope we can get to the growth place here with number-wise as well as budget-wise, where we can support to bring on another associate pastor and a campus pastor, and we can plant another campus in another community. Because there are communities around us that are very under-churched. And there's, again, some places just we go around and look at that of, again, whether it's in, there's a few small churches like in Notice area. Again, there's out in Emmett, there's some churches out there. There's a lot of churches in Emmett, actually, but they're all like 20 to 30 people. And the majority of that community is not being reached with the gospel. Even out, and we look out further this way, even like Payette, Fruitland, like there's some of these other towns around that, again, that I feel like that God could use Oregon Trail to reach into those communities. And even a part of that is, and I remember when Maureen and I interviewed here, and we came out and we were just really seeking God about, Lord, what's your dream for this church? What's your vision for this church? If we came here, what's going to happen? And I remember leaving here and driving, we go down to get back on the freeway to go back to our house in Boise, and my mind and my heart fixated on the work camp right down here, right? And realizing that, there are hundreds of people that live right there, and it's primarily Spanish speaking, right? And it's, to my knowledge, unreached. Okay? And it's literally right next to us. And again, part of that is I would love to see us launch a Spanish-speaking service and to reach in. I remember when we did the fireworks stand several years ago, I remember I talked with many people throughout those 10 days at the fireworks stand that came that asked if we had a Spanish service. And again, I just had to tell them, no, we don't, right? And again, I think that's an area of our community that I think we could reach and have a huge impact for. But I don't speak Spanish, right? And I can learn, but I did not do well in foreign language in high school. So to that, again, it's just we need to get the momentum, right, of the growth of our church to be able to where we can plant some of those other communities. The good news, right, is even going to streaming online and doing that, right, is those extensions of our church can start as video venues, and so they can literally they get a campus pastor that will be in that community, and they'll meet we'll get a location there, they can meet there, and they'll hear the same sermon, right, from here to start off, and then that campus pastor can eventually, we'd like to ideally do live music at that venue, and then they hear the sermon, right, and they watch it online. On the screen in that venue. Yeah, so like satellite campuses, right, that would come off of this would be our broadcast location. And again, we have the equipment in place to do that, and that's one of the things we're already ready for on that side. We need the other side, right, but we need to be able to bring that person, that campus pastor on and be able to set that up and even have some people go from here to help start that campus. But again, we have families in Notice that are coming here, right? We have families from the Emmett area that are coming in for church. We have some families already in some of those areas, that again could be the kind of the seed or the start of those other campuses. And so again, looking at that, and then each of those, right, potentially they could start out again being here and with us, but eventually they could even become their own independent churches, or again, that's up to God at that point, right? But as they grew, right, they could start their own kids ministry and youth ministry and small groups in that community, and where eventually they can just break off as independent churches, which would be tremendous. So, again, in long term, I'll tell you, just with that, just am seeing, like, I mean, God's moving. I see God moving chess pieces, right, around for that. And just kind of, even today in John 9, we talked about there's this moment when you're just like, okay, God, like, show your hand. Like, what, and I'm excited for the future of Oregon Trail and to see how God shows his hand in some of those times, and just to sit back and be like, okay, God, like, you did this, now let's go, right? And let's just see you work in ways that we haven't imagined of yet. So that's kind of my longer term vision for the church. And again, as we see people, again, everybody needs to be on the journey, right? And so, again, everyone's welcome. It's one of our core values, right? And including some of these other communities. And just statistically, people that will get in and really be core in their church if it's within 10 miles of their house. And to be coming on consistently on a Sunday, to be in a small group, to get their kids to youth and kids and all this kind of stuff, it's a struggle for people if they live more than 10 miles away. And so, that's, again, why we need to reach out into those other communities. So I think Oregon Trail right now, I feel like we have a little broader reach just because we're right off the freeway, right? And so, again, just because of the location that God put us in, I feel like we have a little longer reach than typical. But does that make sense? Any questions about that? No? Again, one of my, I guess not as long-term goals, but it's connected to that, and that is I want to develop a teaching team too, to where, again, I love preaching, but I want to contend. That's one of my biblical mandate is to, as a pastor, right, is to equip the saints through the work of the ministry. And I think there's value in hearing other voices. Like I said, I love preaching and teaching every Sunday, but that's one of my kind of within the next year or two goals is to develop a bigger teaching team. And even with that, whether that and those would potentially turn into campus pastors, right, or whatever, and we would prep together. And even in those campuses, we would be preaching the same sermons, but same text, right, but different, different people preaching the same scriptures, right? So we'd be going together, right, same path, but different locations and different teachers even potentially in those. Yeah? Clear as mud? No? All right. Any online questions yet? Nobody's given one? I was really hoping for an online question. I don't know why. That was really... Come on, Larry. I know you. I'll tell you, Larry Blackford, he's been such an encouragement to me over the years. And he's been one of our guys, him and Flo, he said they faithfully watch every week. And I've heard from him, consistently just how much they enjoy the stream. So thanks, Larry, your encouragement to me. He was the original one that asked us to stream it too tonight. So I hope he's watching. But all right. Well, and that then, like I said, if you have questions, I would just say is you could always ask me. Okay? And if you're wondering, like, what happened with that, or why'd you make that decision, or what do you think, just you can always ask me. And I love to talk about God's church and about what he's doing, because God's doing a lot, and I really mean that. So, again, I'm excited about Oregon Trail and about where God's taking us in the future, and just what I hope God will accomplish, through this congregation. So, with that, I will close with a word of prayer, and then we need to exit out this way, right into the cafe, and grab those dessert treats, and we can mill around and talk as long as you want to. So, well, maybe not as long as you want to, but within reason. But let's pray. Lord God, we thank you and love you, Lord, just for being with us. God, for guiding us even through this and crazy sounds that we have, but Lord, you are with us no matter what, and we just thank you and praise you for that. And God, we just pray for our church, Lord, for every church in our community, Lord, because our valley, again, just needs to be penetrated with your spirit. And God, I just pray that, Lord, you would continue to expand our reach as Oregon Trail. God, as we can hopefully point more people to you, but God, continue to be at work with every church in Middleton and Caldwell, Lord, in our valley to reach more people for you. And Lord, I just pray, Lord, for your continued guidance for us as a church as we continue to move forward, as we fulfill the vision that you've given us. And Lord, I just thank you for the opportunity to lead this church and just ask, Lord, for your continued provision and your continued blessings. God, we love you, we praise you, and thank you for all you do. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.